Swamp Rebellion. This is part 3 with the Cajun Craftastrophe. T new. Hop into the Craftyverse.
Hollywood. You talking about Hollywood, Florida?
That's close. I came up and kissing me.
Oh, come on. That's close to the Disney World.
That's right next door.
So, T-New, before Cajun Craftastrophe and YouTube and all that, I know you worked in film a little bit. So, how was that? How did that pan out?
Well, it panned out so well that I'm on YouTube. No, it's I got into making films, and I was a film editor, and these are, movies. I did a lot of little horror movies, and I did a few other bigger movies, but I don't want to get into specifics. But anyway, that's where I started, and I don't know, I just always had a love of editing, and before that, I was doing audio stuff. So in the audio, as you well know, the editing, it's all the same thing. It's timing, right? Music is timing, editing, storytelling, it's all timing.
And where the stabs are correct and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I try not to stab too many people.
Or beat them.
Yeah,
because beats are important too.
Oh boy, it's a very violent
genre.
career. But overall, it just started there. But and then I did a bunch of movies, and I went out and I lived in Hollywood for a little while and did movies out there. And let me tell you, it's a lot of pressure. And it's very intense when you're the editor of the film. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but when a crew comes on a film, you're there for a certain amount of time. And then when an editor comes on a film, you're there for a very long time. On some films, I'm there from pre-production all the way to the very last day when things are delivered. And I've been on a film. One film I was on was 18 months. Which is that's one.
That's a commitment.
Was that when you was on the Little Mermaid, the live action one?
Yeah, you seen the crab? That's me.
That's you.
Yeah, that's me.
That's
I'm the crab.
Oh, Sebastian, they call that.
Yeah. That's me. That's you nailed it. But yeah. So that's a very, very long time. And then so you sit in a little room that's maybe just a little bit bigger than this, but not much. And with a director and sometimes producers for months and months and months. And the whole thing, you watch these people go through breakdowns, mental breakdowns, and it gets serious because it gets hard on the directors, and there's a lot of pressure. And the weird thing is a lot of directors, they're familiar with editing, but they haven't sat in a room for months editing something. So there's this syndrome that kind of happens where they watch things so many times that they want you to keep changing it to make it, they think that new is better, right? So let's change this. Oh yeah, that's better. Oh, and then let's change this again.
And they don't realize that T-New is better.
Oh, that's the best kind of new. Yeah, that's brand new right there. But so what happens is instead of getting better, it's just changing, and sometimes it's getting worse. And anyway, it got so stressful that I was like, I do not want to do this, and I want to go back to Louisiana, and I don't care what I gotta do. I'll do anything. I don't,
So how has it been that, we know that your day job, you work at the mall in Lafayette.
Yeah, I do that, and I also like to give those little green stickers at Walmart.
Yeah.
And then, do not try to get past me without showing the receipt, because I will shoestring tackle. I've seen me do
Walmart's up their game too, bro, because if you try and leave out of the entrance thing, they'll say, you're supposed to pass by the register. And I was like, but I didn't buy anything.
I'm just trying to pile this bar.
Yeah.
Pile, boy, that's a good one.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, like you were saying too, I feel like there's an opposite end to that, where if you keep editing something, you want something constantly to be new, and you kind of fall off on a certain threshold where it's not making it any better. there's the other side to that too, where you're so used to seeing this particular piece of content that as soon as it's changed, it's hard to know that that's what needs to happen. And I feel like that's a constant struggle to live that life of what needs to change and what needs to stay the same. And that particular direction is everything when it comes to an art form. And I think how you deal with that and how you adapt to that is what says a lot about you as an artist. Because you could live on both sides of that coin. There's some changes that I'll make in a piece of music that's like, man, is this better or is it just new and different? And if it's bad, I couldn't tell right now. So that's where you have to separate yourself, like giving
the forest for the trees, right? I mean, yeah, and then taking that break. You know, like we as you know, creative people, we want to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and like I found like going I don't know if we were on air when we talked about this, but I try to play a little music and I'm trying to learn different instruments, and sometimes I'll just go play an instrument, take a little break, get out of the editing suite, stop doing the crafting, and that helps just give you a reset. And another amazing thing that happens, and I'm sure you experience this all the time, and you may have experienced it just now because y'all played me a song. When you play a song, even if you're just sending it to someone, boy, you can suddenly hear, as soon as you press send and you listen to it again, you can suddenly hear it through that other person's ears a little bit. And it changes. You suddenly have a slightly different perspective on things, and I'm fascinated by that.
That is true.
It's like beaming it in. Yeah, that's exactly what. Because while I was doing that, I was actually making small little tweaks that I knew would benefit because I haven't listened to the song in quite a while. And yeah, absolutely. Do you do that with, like, let's say your audience? Like, once you put out a video, I mean, you've been through the, the thick and the thin of putting this particular piece of content out. Once it's out, do you go back and watch that from an audience perspective, or do you kind of let that marinate?
Well, I'm watching them less and less because there's just less and less time as this thing has picked up. But one cool feature, which I don't know if a lot of creators are doing this, but there's a premiere feature on and I think, I don't know if one of y'all was on there one time.
That was yesterday, right? Or the day before?
I don't know. It's
one of those days.
It's all a blur, man.
Yeah, I was there.
Okay, yeah, excellent. Thank you. And what you're doing is actually watching live with the audience. So that's an interesting thing. But if what you're asking is sometimes I look back at stuff and say like, oh man, I kind of missed the boat on that, or I could have made that better. Like, absolutely.
But there comes a point to where, as an artist or creative, you have to understand. Me and Tyler go through this often. When's the point that you've just put too much into it because now you're inside your own head? Right? There comes a point to where, okay, this is just good enough, and I don't have to put another 30 hours into this one detail just because I'm losing my mind over this. Has that been a struggle for you and trying to reel that in, or does that just come naturally?
I think that's a struggle for every artist that's out there, no matter what level you're at. And of course, I can't speak for everyone out there, but I really think that's just part of it, yeah, you have certain things too that you do one project and man, that thing's a breeze, and usually it's really good too. If it comes very natural, quickly, it's usually very good. And there's other projects where you will struggle and struggle and struggle. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that one will be bad, but that happens too, where you will work 19 times harder on something and it is 19 times worse than the last thing you did.
Or it's the diamond in the rough.
It can be. But
and we've seen that also.
I love this story about there's a story about Tom Waits and just about songs fighting him. And he said that every once in a while he'd be working on an album. I don't know if people know who Tom Waits is, but if you don't know who he is, then go listen to him. But he kind of sounds like Oscar the Grouch, but maybe if he drank more. But anyway, he'd be in the studio, and this one particular song wouldn't be cooperating with him, and he'd ask everyone to leave, the engineers, the other musicians, and he would say, you know, to the song, like, hey, okay, what is your deal? Because look, pal, you have 5 minutes to get it together, or this album train is leaving you behind. If you don't inspire me in the next 5 minutes, I'm done with you. And I always thought that is so cool, man.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a cool
to be able to look inside yourself like that and identify that too, because most people can't get past that. You can't. We as artists, we feel like we can't get past our own selves, and so that's usually the wall. It's not what everybody else perceives of us; it's what we perceive of ourselves that we feel like is not good enough for everybody else to see.
This is Grovon Magwire from the Dank Swamp Rebellion podcast, reminding you to stock up on your Elmer's CheeWees. Get you some of that. I'll tell you, the original's good now. The original's real good. I like me the barbecue one. I like the taco one. Bruh, I dip that in some ranch meat. They got the hot and spicy. They got the pizza. The pizza one's real good, man. And so is the green onion. And if you like a little something sweet after, get you some of that caramel popcorn. They ain't sleeping on that caramel popcorn. And remember, if it ain't Elmer, it ain't CheeWees.
Elmer's Quality Snacks since 1946.
Oh, and don't forget about those seasonal flavors. This message was approved by Grovon Magwire.
Well, absolutely, that's the struggle. And also when you don't have a lot riding on your shoulders, also when you don't put that if you don't have, see, there's two different kinds of pressure, right? One kind of pressure can be really good, you know, where it's a self-imposed, like, deadlines, or like, look, man, I gotta get out of bed, Captain, you know, you gotta get going, you need to do some work. But then there's another kind of pressure, which is it's actually zapping away all your energy and taking it from you. And actually about film editing, and about not caring. Like when I started doing film editing, I was just doing little bitty films for people, you know, tiny little things. They were feature films, but they were small films. And then they had this one guy who was like, hey, I like what you're really doing, you know, and he wanted to get better with this, you know, in a better position with this company. And there was this big hotshot Hollywood producer, and he was like, look, man, they have a film that it's not working. They fired the last 5 editors off of this, you know, and the director, boy, he's a real animal. He's crazy, you know. And I'm like, hey, man, why don't you try to sell me on this project? You know, like, you're asking me to do this.
Like, you're gonna have to sit on tax while editing this project.
This does not sound good. I am not interested.
No.
And I was very busy at the time. And he was like, oh, look, okay, no problem, but I'm trying to get this gig, and we were friends. He's like, just come meet with the guy, you know. And I was like, okay. So they bring me out there, and let me tell you, I did not care. There are ways of saying you don't care these days that the kids say, and yeah, that's how I felt. I did not want the gig, and so I go there, and there's this other producer there, and there's this guy who's the audio guy. He wanted to do all the sound for the film. So they telling me, like, hey, Dinu, don't tell them you do visual effects. Don't tell them you work on sound. Don't tell them you are a film editor. And I was like, okay. And I could see how these guys are nervous. They're sweating bullets. And so we go in the guy's office. He's on the phone because he's a Hollywood director. So we get in there, and it's a big, beautiful office. Hey, there's a dog in there, and I love animals. So I get on the carpet, and I'm rolling around.
It's all licking you. You licking him back.
Oh man, I'm fighting with this thing. You know, and like, you know, he's an adorable little dog. I'm rolling around.
He took some $8,000 artifact off this dude's desk, starts playing tug of war with it.
Well, the funny thing was at some point I'm on my back and I roll over. And I looked behind me at the two guys that brought me in there, and to say that they were shocked is an understatement.
Tinu, what the heck are you doing rolling around with a dog on the floor?
One man literally had his jaw open, like
Looking like a Grosjean.
like a cartoon, and of course, the guy had hung up the phone at some point. And of course, it's his dog.
Yeah.
He loves me. He loves that dog. And he was almost basically like, you hard. And I was like, oh, no, I and I was like, oh, thank you, no problem. And they go back, and, the other producer was like, well, Tino, yeah, he wants you. And so I'm like, okay. In my mind, I'm like, oh, watch this. Watch Tinu get off the hook right here. He's like, what do you want per week? And I named this ridiculous number so that I could go back to my house. And the guy said, okay.
You got it, buddy.
And I spent the next 13 years doing films until I got out of it. But, hey, it's nice sometimes to make a little bit of money, for a little short period of time. But man, doing the YouTube videos is so much more fun and more gratifying on every single level.
And it's you.
Yeah.
And that's what we love about what we do too, because you can see the logo and the website and the production company that's behind it and all that good stuff, but at the end of the day, the rebellion is us, and it's you, man, because you're part of the rebellion now.
Absolutely.
And so is everybody else that's ever been on our show, and everybody who has ever listened, whether you like it or not. And the other part of it is that you talk about a lot on your show about the talent that your wife has, and I want to kind of go there a little bit because, man, amazing. Like, absolutely, as far as the artistry.
I love her style.
She's amazing.
Amazing. What is her background? Like, what's the big drive in that?
She also started out as a musician, which is the background that I come from. And actually, I met her way back when, and this guy was trying to get me, and this is yet another story of me not wanting to do something.
Boy, Tinu, it sounds like you're just not wanting to go to work, Bam. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, you gotta sometimes put a collar on that kid and pull him. But so this guy told me I was producing music at the time, and he was like, hey, I got this Canadian 2-piece that you gotta hear. That is not enough.
What that is? Some chicken? No, bro, you eat a Canadian 2-piece, it tastes like paper that's fried. There ain't no seasoning.
Yeah, that's no good. I was like, that is not an appealing sentence that just fell out your mouth, Mr. Guy. But
it's a maple syrup on that.
Yeah, but look, I went over there and this girl was playing bass. And she's my wife now. And her boyfriend at the time, who was named Tyler.
Sure, I bet.
Actually, no, he's one of the coolest dudes that I ever knew. This guy.
So definitely not me. I feel it.
No, actually, I saw this guy. We got locked out of a van once, and this guy was such a MacGyver. I hope people remember what that is.
Oh yeah, I remember when MacGyver made a CB radio out of a cactus out in the desert.
Well, check this out. They had a little tiny crack in the window, and we were on the side of the interstate. I think we had gotten outside to maybe, I don't know, we had drank a lot of water, and we had to stop on the side of the road, and we locked ourselves out. Boy. Anyway, this guy, when the grass grows real long, and he took that piece of grass and looped it and put it through.
Puff bet.
It was amazing. My mind is still blown.
My mind's blown because I see that. I said, this dude has a big old piece of thistle grass on the side of the road. He looped it on the end, shoved it through the window, and looped that thing and lassoed it and pulled the locker.
That's exactly
Where
right.
is his YouTube channel?
Where is this guy?
Because that's some crafting.
How to unlock a vehicle with a piece of grass.
Totally. And the mind was blown. And look, this was not a one-off with this guy.
He was just on it like that.
Yeah. So she just, he's a cool dude. So anyway, that was my wife's, her man at the time. And so anyway, I did this album with her, and you know, et cetera, et cetera. She did music for a long time. She's done things like boy, she played accordion on one song. What's that name of that band? The one with Josh Hom, Queens of the Stone Age.
Wow.
So
He's a huge nerd for.
You don't even know.
Queens of the Stone Age.
In that case, right behind you, I have a Troy Van Leeuwen Jazz Master Oxblood in there.
Nice.
Like, I love Queens of the Stone Age.
Do you know who Dave Ketching is?
Yes.
That's a really good friend of mine.
That's amazing. Super.
And my wife.
I'm so fangirling for Tinu right now.
But not only that, but she sang and played bass on a record in the same vocal booth with Frank Black.
How is it? And even though that you've never showed your wife on your videos, you showed her art, and which is amazing. But it just seems like it's very few times in life to where you have two people that are in sync with a creative spectrum that's in a relationship, right? My wife is very talented and can sing, and she has that talent. But when it comes to all the other stuff, the production side, she doesn't hear all that. And the same thing when it comes to Tyler, like Randy's not musically inclined, but she has a good ear for things that she needs to hear.
Surprisingly, she is.
So normally it's
let you
polar
know.
opposites when you have a relationship, but with you two, it just seems such a crazy sync of artistic ability. That's wild to me, man. Like, you never see that. You never see that, and that's cool.
I mean, she doesn't do like production stuff. Like, like if she has a problem with Photoshop, it's me that's up there fixing it, trying to figure out what the problem is. Her talents lie elsewhere, but she can do other things that are crazy. And like her ability to cook, and I'm not saying this because she's my wife, like, it is 5-star level creativity. It is, and this is not a girl who like watches cooking shows or anything.
Yeah, she just knows food.
She just got it, man. It's the craziest thing, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. And she's the most creative person I can't say she's the most creative person I've ever met, but she's the most creative person that I know.
Yeah.
Like she just blows my mind.
And the fact that you showcase her stuff in every one of your shows, which also fits super seamlessly in the way you add something in that she'll have that'll be indicative to what you're doing in that.
I try to find one that, like, in this last one, I did one that was a kind of a play on Castaway, and one of my favorite paintings that she's done is this seahorse mermaid woman. It's an amazing painting, and I wanted to show it. And boy, this YouTube thing of putting out a video every week, I just didn't have time to do it. It just, you have to.
Yeah, time crunch.
Yeah, you have to
You gotta
learn
prioritize.
jettison some of the ballast sometimes,
But the stuff she does doesn't look real. It looks like a print. That's what's amazing about it. It's so clean when you see her stuff, and it's like, wow, it's just so freaking amazing. Because she also did some work, if I'm not wrong, on American Horror Story.
That's correct.
Right.
Season 4, the one with all the. So my wife, she paints. I don't know if y'all know this out there, people, but my wife, she paints. But they do this American Horror Story thing, and what it is a bunch of different genres, I guess they kind of cover. And
right.
This one
that changes every season.
Yeah, she paints circus banners. That's kind of her deal.
Which is on point because they look so nostalgic. It's amazing. It reminds me of old Barnum and Bailey. It's so nostalgic, and it's so clean.
It's such a cool
from
style,
us, just
too.
let her know, man. Like, we're fans. Like,
absolutely.
She's awesome.
I'm gonna play this part for her.
Yeah, just this part. Don't play the rest.
I'm not playing that other part where you talked about Daddy and said how awesome he is, because I'm gonna have all kind of things to do.
She gets along good with Daddy. Like, they have a good relationship.
Oh, and my daddy loves her. My daddy thinks that that's the best thing that ever happened to me, and he says she's stronger than me. she's faster than me, she's better looking. I don't know how she ended up with you, Tinu, but congratulations, you did good on this one thing, this one time.
Does she love Star Wars as much as you do?
She really likes Star Wars. She really likes Blade Runner.
Yeah. Wow.
Good call.
Now, did she see the remake of Blade Runner?
She was not that interested.
Fair enough.
I've actually watched that recently, not knowing, because I accidentally it was on a streaming thing, and I was like, oh, let me watch Blade Runner. No, it wasn't the same.
Well, it's not this. It's not the same. But boy, let me tell you what they do have, in my opinion. That is some of the most beautiful special effects that I've ever.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Like they are real. And what I love, and what this director, I don't know how to pronounce his name, is something like Villeneuve. How do you say that?
Don't know.
Close enough.
I respect you, Mr. Whatever
A
your
very
name is.
Italian sounding name.
Yeah. Or, I think, or Mexican. I'm not sure.
Something.
But he's amazing. He's an amazing director. And what a lot of people are starting to really learn is that they mix the models with the digital. And boy, when you do that, you see, the interplay of light on something, on an object, is very hard to replicate inside of the computer. Now, we're gonna get there, but we're not quite 100%
Yeah,
there
lightly
yet.
can only do so much at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and then the more real objects you put into the scene, the more realistic it can be, and they do like multi passes and all that, and mix it together, and it's starting to look really, really good. Anyway, that kind of stuff fascinates me, and I think that it's amazing that people are learning, like, what are the strong points of something, like you can do invisible digital effects that make your movie look completely organic, but let's say you got a light in the shot, you can get the light out, you know what I mean, and it's real easy, whereas before you just couldn't do that. I mean, you know, if you accidentally got a light in the shot, I mean, you know, unless somebody goes over there and animates something, but it's not gonna look good. Anyway,
Right.
This is what's called a tangent, ladies and gentlemen, and this is where you get lost in the loop of the tangent, so I don't even know where I started.
Thanks for tuning in to DSR. Come back Saturday for part 4 with T New. And don't forget to check him out on YouTube, Cajun Craftastrophe, and his new channel, CraftPod13. Streaming now on YouTube. As always, links are in the description. Now go get your craft on.